Hey gang, welcome back to another video. Now as a maker and Halloween fanatic, I'm always looking for ways to improve on props I've made in the past, either by streamlining the process or by introducing new materials to help improve an existing design. So in this video, I'm actually going to do both, as I revisit a classic, PVC Halloween candles. So let's get to it. So first things first, and probably the biggest change to this build is the pipe. This is Schedule 30 PVC pipe, which is also sometimes called sewer and drain pipe. Its walls are about half as thick as Schedule 40 PVC, which means that it will allow for light to pass through it and give that warm candle glow. As an added bonus, it's also a lot easier to cut by hand if you don't have access to a powered saw. And before I get started on any PVC project, I need to remove the writing on the side of the pipe, and I'll do that with a bit of acetone. Now that I've got that out of the way, I want to start shaping the pipe so that it's a bit less industrial and a lot more organic. So I'll roughly sketch out a guideline around the top edge of the pipe, and we'll sand it down with a small sanding drum and my rotary tool. This line doesn't have to be perfect. As a matter of fact, you don't have to draw the line at all and can freehand the shape. This pipe is pretty forgiving and sands quite easily, so even if you make a mistake, it'll be easy to fix. Any edges that are a little rough can get smoothed out with the rotary tool or with a piece of sandpaper. And if you have any of your marker lines still visible, just grab some isopropyl alcohol and wipe it away. With the pipe shaped, cleaned, and dusted off, we can get down to the fake wax strips. And for that I'll be using these white hot glue sticks and my tiny glue gun. When applying the drips, I like to start from the bottom of the drip and work my way to the top of the pipe. This gives more of a natural look because the start of a bead of hot glue has a more rounded look to it. This also helps to minimize the amount of stringing that can happen as you pull the hot glue gun away from the pipe, and instead puts it over the top of the candle lip where it can more easily be dealt with. Using the white glue sticks for this build is a big plus, especially after tracking down this thinner pipe. The last thing we'd want to do is make it more difficult for the light to pass through it by applying a coat of paint to the entire candle. What I think helps give these candles the right look is to build up the drips on top of themselves after the glue has started to cool. Filling in the spaces in between drips and working up and over existing ones gives it a bit more bulk towards the top. To give the candle even more bulk, I like to run a bead of hot glue along the cut edge, which helps to cover up any exposed pipe. Now it's time to deal with the stringing, but first I'm going to need my heat gun. The heat gun is a great way to help blend your drips together and make them look more natural. Additionally, any of the really fine strings of glue will kind of disappear when introduced to the heat, and the remaining larger ones will get absorbed back into the rest of the glue. I'm essentially melting the hot glue for a second time, but not heating it enough to melt the pipe. When I'm happy with how everything is melted together and the glue is completely cooled, I'll grab some wax paint and we'll use it to age the candle a bit. It's a simple brush on and wipe off method, and you can work the paint as much or as little as you like until you get the desired effect. I tend to focus on darkening the drip areas, which should help them to stand out better at night, and will wipe away most of the paint from the pipe, leaving behind a subtle tint to give it an aged look that doesn't prevent the light from passing through. This wax paint likes to pool in the recesses, so after I've wiped away most of it, I'll go back with a dry brush and we'll soften the appearance so that the paint isn't too severe. I also like to drag down from the drips toward the bottom of the pipe to give it a bit more visual interest. And don't forget to paint the inside areas that may be seen when it's on display. With the paint out of the way, it's time to add some lights. But before I do that, I want to make a small notch on the back side of the candle that I can use to pass any wires through and still have the candle sit flat. So I'll draw a guide for myself, and off camera I'll use my rotary tool to remove the section of pipe. Now we can get on to the lights. And for this I'm going with a much more simple approach than I've used in the past, by using two 12-volt flickering LED bulbs. You can buy these online pre-wired to save you the trouble of having to select the right resistor, and because they run off 12-volt power, they'll work with my low-voltage plug-and-play lighting box. I'll leave a link in the video description if you'd like to check it out and build one for yourself. I'm going to hot glue the two LEDs in place near the bottom of the pipe, and then I'll grab a small piece of this packing material and we'll glue that over the bulbs to help diffuse the light. This will give it a much more pleasing glow and will help to minimize hot spotting that happens with LED bulbs. And once the sun has started to set, it's time to test it out. As you can see, the glow from the LEDs can be seen faintly through the PVC pipe, which I think looks more like a candle that's been hollowed out after multiple uses. And the added paint helps to give the drips more shape and bring some much needed character to our candle. Now, short of making a silicone mold of a real candle, this is a solid step forward for a classic DIY Halloween prop. And while you may have your fair share of candles, this is definitely one of those props that you can never have too many of. Well, that's going to do it for this one. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, but most importantly, go make something.